If Activision wasn't such a shitty place to work, I'd probably do it. All right, let's do this.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and, of course, superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we watched Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
10 Rings. Between the two of us, we've seen it 3 times, so we have to see it 7 more times to fully comprehend the film.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Did Ariana Grande make a song called 10 Rings? Or something? Was it 7 rings?
You're asking the wrong person about Ariana Grande.
I need to go get my wife. I think she made 7 rings, so take her 7 plus our 3. We've got 10 rings, Mike. It works.
Isn't there a sports person? Oh my God, this goes to show you already how much I know about sports. There's got to be somebody with like 10 championship rings, right? That's who we should be talking about.
That's a Google question for you. You have to figure that out. DC Fandome gives us a date for this year with all the fun goodies coming for us. And we talk the latest episode of What If with Doctor Strange, which I really want to talk about this with you. We had a little text conversation, but I want to talk it over a little bit more. So we just really recorded our Shang-Chi review, and I'm like, where do we go with this? Because all of our energy was in that. It was so fun to do that.
Somebody named Sam Jones has won 10 championships.
You've been Googling this. Got it.
I don't know I don't even know what sport this is. I'm assuming it's NBA because when you Google it, most of the results are NBA. So I guess the longevity of the career, it makes the most sense that a basketball player would have the most championships.
Bill Russell has 11 championships with the Boston Celtics.
Well, there you go. That's basketball. So he is outpacing Shang-Chi by 1 extra ring. But you're running out of forearm space, to be honest. So would they become leg rings? You know, that could be a possibility. I feel like that's like a Street Fighter character or something. I feel like there's some sort of like video game character that you can pick that has like leg rings or something. I don't know. Let's
just all be thankful that these weren't 10 piercings for Shang-Chi, okay? Like, they're all just normal rings that they can do all sorts of stuff.
That's just if you got to get an X-ray or an MRI, that's just a lot of things to take out. Nobody has the time for all that.
Right. Going through airport security. I mean, they're going to flag you. They're going to flag you for those. But, that's not why we're here. We're not here to talk about all this goofy shit. So, we'll jump in. I'm going to say what we were watching. I want to get on with some of this new stuff here. But, I ended up finally getting to watch Fate of the Furious. And, Mike, I told you this. And you were like, which one is that again? And and you asked a fair question, and I'm like, what was the gimmick in this one, right? What was the gimmick in this? And it is essentially Dom Toretto is being blackmailed to do work for Charlize Theron's character, Cypher. And the big gimmick of this is there's a submarine under ice, and they're all racing across ice at the end of this movie. So if you remember that one, that's the one. That's the big catch right there.
It's the submarine one, and the newest one is all about magnets. So I'm looking forward to you enjoying that one.
Yes, I gotta go through Hobbs and Shaw first because gotta do them in watch order.
That's the exoskeleton one. We know that from the trailers.
Yeah, it's got what's his name? Idris Elba, Bloodshot, and Heimdall himself in it as someone who's like nano powered or Beck suit or whatever. G.I. Joe did it already. Okay, we all saw the first G.I. Joe. We regret it, but we all saw it. So I gotta watch it. Fate of the Furious, 2 more to go on that. I'm trying to knock out some of these. We're getting into fall weather here in the Midwest, and I love fall weather because I can go outside and I can also not feel bad for staying inside. So. Probably be watching some more as we kind of get this done, but you continued your Schwarzenegger, your Arnold watch here.
Yeah, so. I'm going down the Arnold rabbit hole, and there was a film, The Sixth Day, all about clones, which you may know about from a very popular Mad TV sketch that I can't get out of my head, where Will Sasso plays Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he just goes on and on for minutes about being a clone, and it's just really, really funny. And that's the only thing I can remember about it. So I was like, oh, maybe I should go back and watch The Sixth Day. And I dove into it, and this is when Arnold kind of starts to age in his career a little bit. This film came out in the 2000s, so he's playing just a normal kind of father figure who gets wrapped up in this crazy clone conspiracy. But he's still a big badass and an action star. So you just can't take that out of him no matter what he's in. Even when he's in Jingle All the Way, just trying to get a Turbo Man, he's also doing like fight scenes and finding big giant Santa Clauses and stuff like that. So he can't quite escape it. But this one's pretty fun because I really liked the modern future kind of technology. I talked about that with a Demolition Man of how did people anticipate from the 90s of what the future would look like. And we get a little bit of that here too as well. And a lot of stuff ends up being pretty accurate. There's like self-driving cars. There's other stuff too. There's like touch screens and there's like this GPS navigation. So they got a lot of stuff right with the 6-day. It is pretty fun.
This was the one I couldn't think of last weekend because I kept saying like the 13th hour or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, it's the 6 day.
Yeah, I do feel like this film does suffer from the title a little bit too. Like the 6 day is supposed to be in like reference to like the creation, and on the 6th day, I feel like this could have had like maybe a cooler name in it. But there's also some fun one-liners, and the best part of the movie is since it's about clones, there are chunks of the movie where Arnold gets to act alongside of himself, and it's just so ridiculous and it's so funny, and like because there's like no on-screen chemistry because he's like talking to nobody, and then in post they add another Arnold Schwarzenegger in there, so it's just really funny to watch. So if you've ever wanted to see Arnold act with himself, I mean, the only place you're going to see it is in the 6th day, so you got to go watch it.
Yeah, well, and was it his name Adam or something? It was like very biblical kind of thing.
Yeah, his name's Adam, but there is like this fun little, I don't know if it's like an Easter egg or what exactly is going on here. But I was watching this on Amazon Prime, and when you hit pause on Amazon, you get their little X-ray feature that shows you every actor that's in that scene. And when you see Arnold, you see Arnold Schwarzenegger, but you don't see his character's name. You just see ... because the way they determine whether a person is cloned or not is you pull down their eyelid and there'll be a dot showing how many times they've been cloned. So I don't know if that's supposed to be like some sort of clever Easter egg of just like, oh, these dots, because it's all about clones. But the thing is, he's only cloned like once in the movie, so I don't know why it would be 3 dots. So I don't know. But the 6th day, you can go watch that. I think I'm in the middle of watching True Lies now, which another public service announcement. I was bamboozled by streaming rights, and this was available on a streaming service. I don't remember which one it was. It was either like HBO Max or maybe it was Netflix, but True Lies was being advertised to me. And then once September 1st came around, I could not find the movie anymore. So luckily, Chris swooped in and saved me with his Plex server. So now I can watch True Lies. So I'm in the middle of watching that one. And there's a couple 90s Arnold stuff that I haven't seen in a while or haven't seen at all. So those will be next up on the list. But in the meantime, while I'm waiting for those things to get loaded into my eyeballs, I'm playing the expansion for Ghosts of Tsushima. I don't remember exactly what it's called. It's called like something Iki Island or Iki Island expansion or something, but it's a whole new map area that they've added, and it's just been really fun. I love this game. I'm looking forward to diving into it, and I'm trying to go against my mental grain of how I usually play this game, which is like when I find a new land, all I want to do is uncover all of the smoke so I can artfully and tactfully go like coast to coast, edge to edge, and like complete it 100% and get everything done and maxed out before I fight the final person. It's like, no. I'm going to play this one a lot more casually, a lot more explorationally, and then, I can go back and cross the T's and dot the I's after I've done some more of the bigger stuff. But Ghost of Tsushima, it's great. You got to play it. That's my second endorsement of this game now. So that's what I've been doing, Chris.
It's not the second. I can count more, but that's fine. It's on PlayStation 4. Then if you have a PlayStation 5, it has enhancements as well, right?
Oh yeah, if I could freaking find one. And now like I'm all nervous because there's a new version of the PlayStation 5 that's out now that's lighter weight. But I saw somebody do a teardown the other day, and it's because they made the heatsink smaller.
That's what I told you. I was like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah, and I got to physically see it. Like, yeah, the heatsink's definitely smaller. Like, so are they trying to say that they overdid it on the first one? Because I was almost expecting their kind of change up to be like chip related, like, oh, there's a chip shortage, maybe they found a way around it or something like that. But like, why are you taking heat sinks out of it? I feel like the heat sink is the one thing that you don't need to like scrounge up and find. It's just like a piece of metal, right? I don't think there's like a metal shortage, so I don't know what's going on there. So now, like, even if I found like a PlayStation like randomly at a department store one day, I'd be like, should I buy this? Is this the good one or the bad one? So I don't know, Chris. Just anxiety up and down my entire life, right?
Yeah, you sound a little gun shy about it. Like, should I? I don't know. Wait till the next one. Wait till the PlayStation 5.5, Mike. They'll give you a nice decimal point. But yeah, let's jump into the news. Let's jump into this because we just got off. We have a full review episode of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Starts spoiler free. Jumps into spoilers later on. We have the time codes, but now we will kind of give you an abbreviated version. This movie is now in theaters. Again, little history. I got to see this 2.5 weeks ago at an early screening, and I watched it again this morning or this afternoon for me. It was right for lunch before jumping on record. Mike, you got to watch it yesterday. That's right. Mm-hmm. We talked a little bit about our theater going experience, how this movie right now is actually breaking Labor Day box office records, not just pandemic, no asterisks there, regular Labor Day box office records. But, if you still don't want to go, that's fine. This will be on Disney Plus in 45 days. Mike, I will let you do the honors yet again to jump into a spoiler-free thoughts on Shang-Chi Legend of the Ten Rings.
Yeah, I mean, I had a great time. No huge complaints. Some little speed bumps in the story every now and then, but overall, I had a really great time. I loved the additions of Simu Liu and Aquafina to the MCU. I'm looking forward to their characters persisting and what team-ups they'll have in the future, the dynamics that they'll have with these other characters that we get a little taste of here and there in the movie. Love the rings. I talk about Star Wars and lightsabers all of the time. I feel like these rings are super, super cool. I love the way they are used in the choreography throughout the film, so I'm happy to see the rings added to the MCU and how these badass fight scenes will continue on later in our franchise that we talk about here every week. So super excited to see more. Dive deep into our spoiler podcast to hear our deep spoiler thoughts. PSA, 2 post-credit scenes that Chris actually let us know about ahead of time because he got to see the movie 2 weeks early at an early screening, and that's why I knew, no. There'll be an after-credit scene at the end of all these credits. Stick around. So I felt very informed and very empowered in my theater-going experience. So, this is great addition. This was a correct, successful launch of the spaceship Shang-Chi. Good to go. I'm excited, Chris, for more.
Yeah, good to go. I agree, and I think we're both. It's one of those few reviews. No, it's not few. One of those reviews where we're kind of on the same page, right? We had a great time. This is you got a great cast of actors. Again, Simu Liu, Aquafina, Tony Leung. I cannot pronounce his sister's name, Xiaoling, so I'm not going to butcher it because I will essentially do that. All the cast was great. There's lots of turns in here. I use that phrase a lot in the review. It's what you think is going to happen. Probably does a few times, but it definitely humanizes a lot of these characters more than they could have. They could have easily made it just a generic run-of-the-mill film, and they really pulled some twists and turns. Visually, spectacular. Very, very. I feel like I'm actually. I'm again, the culture and everything. The love of that is put into this film, and you can see it in the visuals. You can hear it in the sounds. And it's so fun to watch, the fight scenes, the action scenes. I didn't mention this in the review, but there are some that feel very Jackie Chan inspired, if you will. So I had a really good time, and so much I saw it twice, 2 weeks apart, Mike. The first time didn't deter me from watching it the second time. So so stay through to the end. Some post-credit scenes you'll definitely not want to miss if you want to see where the future of the MCU is headed. And this is, like I said, great addition. I think he's going to be a great Avenger when he inevitably joins up with the team down there. Now, I would have loved to see him fight Thanos with those rings. What would you think to that? You think he would have?
Well, yeah. I mean,
rings versus gauntlet.
Yeah, we are curious. I mean, that's always a constant question whenever you see a new character or even a consistent character get a new movie. You're always curious, what's the power level, right? So if you were worried that you weren't going to be able to have more arguments at your local comic book store, worry not. There's still plenty of fun to be had.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, for what little comic books I've read with Shang-Chi, you're definitely you're gonna have a lot more questions if you try to go back and read those. So you can stick with the movie too. It's pretty fine. Now, before I saw, anything else you want to add to that, Mike?
No, I would recommend this film. Official recommendation.
Yes. 2 superhero slates up, if whatever that means, or down. We slapped our slates. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. Anyway,
Chris, don't talk about slapping your slate on the podcast.
Well, that's what we did last week. People definitely enjoyed the commentary on what was that show? Cowboy Bebop. So
Our witty banter.
yes, no, talking about jerking it. That's what it was specifically. I got those messages. Anyway, moving on. I got to see a trailer for the Eternals in theaters, and I've not got to see. This is I think the second time for me. I don't remember what I watched the other one. Maybe it was Black Widow. But the trailer I saw in the theater has more dialogue and footage than I feel like the one online does. Now, did you get to watch this as well in your going experience?
Yeah, I did get to see the Shang-Chi trailer. I was kind of expecting a Spider-Man trailer as well, but I guess maybe that was loaded into the barrel a little too late. So, but we did get to see the Eternals, big full screen. I got to see that weird green monster and like 40 feet taller. I don't know how tall a movie theater screen is, but yeah. It was kind of cool to see this on the big screen. Yeah,
and I was just interesting to note, like, to see that they'd done something different with those. Like why would I hate that the theatrical one has more than the one online, because now I can't go back and break down what the differences were. But I'm like, oh man, I really wish we had this, because I think it shows some more of them using their powers and their abilities, some more like some banter between the team of Eternal, something about sarcasm never saved the world. So it's got me hyped for that. That comes out again in just 2 months from Monday here. So after the successful box office of Shang-Chi, I believe the Eternals will stay where it is. I believe we're kind of locked into there. So kind of got some fingers crossed for that. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see that. I think it's going to be, again, after going through Shang-Chi, and it's kind of grounded really in like the characters, and like you said, a person with no powers gets rings that kind of give him some abilities, versus Eternals who literally can shoot laser beams out of their freaking eyes, Mike. So I'm excited to go in that way a little bit and see kind of what that does. So check that out. Spider-Man No Way Home. If you were lucky enough to go watch this in an IMAX and see the trailer this weekend, which they did show this trailer at IMAX, it confirmed that those forearms in that police interrogation room are not Matt Murdock's. The frame's actually higher, and you get to see the actor there. And then Charlie Cox was also out there saying, "This is not me. What are you talking about?"
I actually really love this, not for the fact that, we were getting like confirmation or anything, because I never assumed it was him, right? Like if you even read the scene on a normal 16:9 trailer, right? Like why would that character have that demeanor in this scene at this point in time? There's way too much to explain just with these arms, but it's so funny that we get confirmation from just a higher crop of the of the shot, which is just so funny, of just like, oh yeah, you just got to see it in IMAX. That'll answer all your questions.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people were like, they didn't probably expect that to be shot down so quickly, because everyone's like, they love hype. I mean, was it Mephisto's arms, you think?
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, do we get to see Mephisto in the crop anywhere?
Yeah. So that's definitely what people have been talking about this week. And then Charlie Cox was like, "No, that's not me." People are very adamant he's going to be in the movie somewhere. He very might well be. He's kind of been on like the opposite end right now. But with Marvel movies, if you've got a secret cameo, you deny. But if he doesn't make it in there, I'm not going to lose sleep over it, because it's already shaping up to be a pretty packed movie, right? Like if you have Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, those villains, and the current MCU trying to put Charlie Cox in there, I feel like it'd be a waste, but maybe they could have him somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, speaking of movies that have way too many cameos rumored, let's talk about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Have you been in a Marvel movie before? Have you thought about being in a Marvel movie before? Well, then you may very well be in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness at this point, because they have two more rumored characters. Mobius and Sylvie from Loki are rumored to appear in this. Take that with a grain of salt, Mike. If anything, maybe there's like a scene where he's flying past all the different branches multiverses and he sees them in like little windows.
Yeah, but that's what I keep saying. It's like that classic like time travel visual representation where you're falling down a wormhole and a bunch of like grandfather clocks keep flying by you, right? Like I just feel like we're gonna get all of our cameos in a scene like that, right? And people are just gonna be like, "Oh, I feel really let down that I just saw Matt Murdock in a wormhole and he wasn't actually there doing lawyer stuff for another Marvel character." And it's just like, just don't raise your hopes too much.
Yeah, all these pre-recorded footage from another show we're gonna flash at you for a second. Like, we're not filming new stuff for this. Like, is how I feel. So, like, yeah, they were in Loki. They're part of the one broke the timeline and one is part of the TVA. It's sure whatever. But pretty much at this point, the other article was like, oh, the most recent What If character, which was again Doctor Strange, will appear in this show. I'm like, can't any What If character at this point essentially show up in Doctor Strange at this point if we're dealing with multiverses? Like, does that feel like a fair to, like, yeah, they could probably be in here, but like, I don't know. Like, I feel like that's like the stupidest news article I've read all week.
Well, it's also pretty funny that we've had so many rumors of what could and couldn't pop up in this film, and I don't think I've yet heard anything of Mordo popping up in the next Doctor Strange movie, which was the end credit scene in the last Doctor Strange movie. So, like, is Mordo going to be in this film? What's going to be going on?
That much I do know he's in there. I think he's been cast, and Rachel McAdams was coming back as well. But that's, I don't know what's he gonna have time to do? Show up at another post-credit scene at this point? Hell, I guess he's the only cameo we haven't talked about it, right? So I also spelled cameos wrong, and that's gonna bother me if I don't fix that.
And that's also another important thing. I know the movie is getting built up a lot in our heads, especially since you're adding Scarlet Witch to it, and we have now multiverses. We've seen what the ramifications of that looks like in Loki, and now you're appending a lot of that chaos onto a Doctor Strange film, and it's just building up to be this huge event. But also at the same time, you got to remember this is a Doctor Strange movie, and it's supposed to be about Doctor Strange. Even when you think about Captain America's Civil War, which, believe it or not, if you forgot, was a Captain America movie, Civil War still, at the end of the day, even after the big airport fight scene, was all about Captain America's relationship with his best friend and then kind of like his new BFF, Iron Man, if you will. So at some point in the time, this big movie with all these multiverses like flipping in and out has to come back down to the character of Doctor Strange, which is actually something we haven't seen in a little bit, and actually we do get to talk about it at the end of this episode when we talk about What If, of a lot of the cameos that we've seen of Doctor Strange. If you can even call them cameos, some of them have elevated to parts of like being full-fledged character in the film, is he's just been on alert, he's been on watch, he's been in problem-solving mode. We really haven't seen much character development out of him, and except for him getting the job done. So we got to get back to what's it like Doctor Strange struggling with some sort of problem in his own movie, and then he solves it at the end of it, right? You know, so you got to remember at the end of the day, the movie is about Benedict Cumberbatch playing the character of Doctor Strange, and I mean, if Rachel McAdams is coming back, is it going to be about his relationship with her? Because that's obviously something important that Marvel wants to look at. Us to look at.
And then we also have was it Miss America, the time or the dimension hopping character will be in that. But I think that was really about it, like, what is the, on top of Elizabeth Olsen as the Scarlet Witch, like, I don't know much about the plot of this movie other than the fact there's a multiverse, there's some madness, and everyone is rumored to be cameoed in here at some point. So this does come out, I believe, March of next year. I actually have the list pulled up here, and if that's the case, I fully expect a trailer March 25th with or before the Eternals for this, Mike, to kind of give us a tease of what's happening.
That would be nice. It doesn't, because Spider-Man comes out in December, right? So it does make me wonder. We're gonna get a trailer for Doctor Strange, maybe before we even see Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. I wonder how how that's gonna feel. It'll probably be very light. They probably will make sure that there's not any weird crossover.
I don't think, again, like you said, Spider-Man movie's about Spider-Man, right? Not Doctor Strange at the end of the day. So I'm still feeling, after watching the trailer, like maybe that's like the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes of the movie in that trailer, and Doctor Strange probably won't show up until the end again. So very excited to kind of see that. So we got a lot of good stuff in the pipeline. And then also, reminder, Doctor Strange being directed by Sam Raimi of Spider-Man fame. So I'm very excited to see that. What if the show... I'm not just posing a question here. Season 2 episode will be based on the Black Widow movie. So they're taking this new phase of films and going ahead and creating what if episodes out of those. So that means could see a Shang-Chi or...
maybe I suspect to see Taskmaster in this, a standout I guess the most interesting standout character in that film because mysterious power set and everything like that. Maybe what if Taskmaster did defeat Black Widow on the bridge, right? Where would the trajectory of that franchise go?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it could be that. It could be, what if she died during that movie and then she wasn't there to sacrifice herself during Endgame kind of thing? Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities there to kind of guess at. So I might kind of see what they do with that. And I sent you, I believe, I don't know how much truth is earlier this week, right? The list of upcoming episodes, I believe, for What If, the rest of the season, potential titles. I don't know how much validity that has to that, because I did just get a Funko Pop vinyl of a future Black Widow that is in a post-apocalyptic future, and I'm like, which one would she go in? Which one would she fit into here? Maybe zombies, but other than that,
yeah, it does seem like in the zombie What If episode, there's got to be at least one character that's not a zombie, right? Otherwise, I feel like you're just seeing a bunch of.
Spider-Man, we talked about, has the cape, and then Scott Lang's head is in a jar, a la Futurama. So yeah, maybe it is that one. I don't know. I'm excited to see the rest of these and see where they go with that. Speaking of zombies and things we want to, mystical sorcery stuff like that, the Midnight Suns game we talked about being announced last week put out its first gameplay, and we talked about being based on the XCOM, the turn-based stuff, and then add on the turn-based stuff to the actual gameplay uses card-based, you have cards that you use an attack or an ability or something like that are randomly dealt to you. You can upgrade those over time with this. It seems to be a very single-player focused game. There's no DLC, no transactional loot boxes to get better cards. You do them all in game. So I know you probably haven't had a chance to watch this, Mike, but I mean, just based on that description, that is, again, turn-based with you have the cards to use this. What do you think of that? Because I like card-based stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm scrolling through it now. Card-based gameplay can be fun. I remember there was definitely a phase of the Game Boy Advanced where there was a few games I played that had card-based action. Mega Man Battle Network is basically kind of card-based action. I think there was a Kingdom Hearts game that was card-based action. So this isn't necessarily a new concept out there if you've never played it before. It's just kind of another way to do kind of random strategy-based gameplay, right? Yeah. Of just you got to make sure you level up your kind of deck so you can, hypothetically get the best cards when you need them. But judging based on people's expectations, this does not have a very good thumbs up to thumbs down ratio. It seems like people from that first trailer expected something maybe a lot more high octane. Because we knew that this was going to be kind of turn-based, but I'm guessing by the reaction to this trailer, people are just like, what is happening with this card nonsense? So luckily I wasn't hyper focused on what gameplay was going to end up being. So yeah, it looks like it could be fun.
Yeah, I bought, when I was in California there with you, the Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, right, for the Switch. And I think a lot of people were looking at it like that, and Ultimate Alliance is fun, but I did not have fun with the third one as much as I did the first one. So I'm kind of glad to see them kind of take the property and IP from Marvel, especially with this mysticism realm, and kind of put it in a different gameplay style. So we're not always stuck doing the same kind of gameplay where you're just button mashing your attacks. So this one's very strategic, and then there's that really cool. I think it's about a minute and 25 into this where Wolverine knocks someone into an explosion canister with one of his abilities, and then it blows up behind him. And Doctor Strange opening portals and stuff like that. So this comes out again, like I said, March of next year for all platforms. It looks like to be a good time because I want some variety in games, and with Marvel, the Guardians games coming out single player, no microtransactions. This one seems to be a way they're kind of going with down in the future. And if you get a chance, Mike, for your PlayStation 4, they made a Deadpool game about 10 years ago that's really fun that they put out on there as well. So you can check that out. No microtransactions, all single player shooting and guns.
That's what we like to hear.
I saw in my theater the Venom Let There Be Carnage trailer before this movie, which is interesting because I also did not get Spider-Man. But with that comes the official rating of PG-13 for this movie, Mike, which I think a lot of I wouldn't say a lot, but like several people will be disappointed to hear this. They were kind of hoping for a R-rated Venom movie. But watching this in the theater, I was actually surrounded by several families with kids watching this trailer, and they were kind of scared by it, if I'm going to be honest. The kids were like you could actively hear them like kind of not enjoying what they were seeing, like from like Carnage attacking people and sticking his tongue down someone's throat. I'm like, is this the kind of trailer you want to put in front of like a regular Marvel movie overall? Like, even if it is PG-13, I feel like it's a little violent.
It's funny that you bring it up, because I actually do remember we had the Venom trailer in front of our Shang-Chi movie as well. And our reaction, I think, was the theater's reaction was a little different. I heard somebody kind of like snicker, like at the end, like, "What is this movie?" Which is funny because, like, oh, that's kind of the feeling I have too. But it does feel a lot more visceral on the big screen. Like when you watch it just in a YouTube video on your computer, the effect isn't quite as there. But seeing Carnage on the big screen, I do get a little bit more of an impact. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate to like a good story or a good film at the end of the day, but yeah, you do lose a little bit when you're watching it on a window on your computer.
Yeah, and I just think, again, if this is PG-13, they are pushing. I feel like they're pushing the boundaries. Like, even with the trailer, like, they can kill people, right? It's fine, but like, literally to like. Again, Carnage sticks his tongue down someone's throat and kills him, like on the screen. Like this is rough. Like even for me to sit here and watch.
But I mean, the first one was PG-13, so
right.
I don't know. I would love it if anybody out there has any examples, but I can't think of any franchises that have gone from rated R, from PG-13 to rated R as it progressed. It's usually almost always the other way around. It starts as rated R, and then you want to grab more audience, and you switch it to PG-13 to make it more, family friendly. Like think like Die Hard or something like that. I just can't imagine it going in a different direction. Like, oh, do you want to make sure people who loved your first movie can't go see the sequel because they're not old enough? So yeah, I don't know why people were expecting a rated R rating second time around.
Oh yeah, I don't think so either. But I definitely think they're pushing it, and I'm kind of going through here. There's actually a list of movies that went from R to PG-13 sequels, and the list is not good. None of these are good. RoboCop 3, Alien vs Predator, Live Free or Die Hard, which was there's just some
Yippee-ki-yay, mother explosion. Oh, unfortunately, I can't finish saying my catchphrase.
He didn't say it. Speed 2, Cruise Control. I did not know this first Speed was a R-rated in my head, but Speed 2 is not. And yeah, stuff like that. So anyway, Scary Movie 3, Mike. We were just talking about Scary Movie earlier. But anyway, Venom Let There Be Carnage, officially rated PG-13. No surprise there. We'll keep you posted. I believe that's locked in for October now, so that'll probably be one of the next movies we watch, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So do that. Rick and Morty, Mike. The last episode of the season, I believe, is going to debut today. Is that right?
Yeah, it's Sunday. I mean, Sunday. I don't know if it's today, but Sunday, I believe, is the Rick and Morty day.
Well, they did 9 episodes, and the 10th one had several weeks. So yeah, it is today. It's been off the air for a couple weeks. The finale was delayed till today, so it will be on tonight. So in honor of that, they've given us some live-action Rick and Morty promos that involve Christopher Lloyd, Doc Brown, and Marty as Rick. So this is funny because Rick and Morty was a parody of Back to the Future, and then now we've brought Christopher Lloyd back to play that character as Rick in a live-action universe.
Yeah, it's gone full circle. He's doing a pretty good Rick too. I don't know in what universe you would ever really make an earnest live-action Rick and Morty, but you could do worse, I suppose. Yeah, I've been kind of keeping my eye off of Rick and Morty because I don't really have any consistent way to watch it because it just doesn't air day and date or even like next day on any streaming service. So I've just been waiting for it to finish so I can just binge it. I'm assuming it's going to be HBO Max is where it's going to go. So I was just like, oh, are they doing is this like a reference to something that's happened in the season or something like that? And then, Rick and Morty does so many collabs and they do so many cross branding synergy with so many different things like Pringles and like Wendy's and stuff like that. I was like, is this a cross promo thing? Are they advertising a brand or the show. I didn't know, so I didn't look into it. But yeah, there are just like 2 like little shorts that I guess they're just promos for.
It's for the show,
Rick and Morty in general. But yeah, they're fun. It's cool to see it.
Well, and it's again, I think the most discerning thing is, or not discerning, the most like thing that takes me away is like they're not using Justin Roiland's voices. Like he didn't voice over them, right? Like they're using like the real actors' voices, and that's perfectly fine. But the second one is like a Pickle Rick reference, and everyone's like, "Oh, we just only get one, and that's all we'll ever get." But like, there's another one that dropped today, so like, I don't think we'll get a full live action episode, but like these promos are pretty fun. Like I'm not a Rick and Morty diehard person, but like these are still very entertaining, especially with the Christopher Lloyd reference from before.
And it's saying on the tweets themselves that are sharing these videos, it's giving it a caption of like C132 or C1.21, which if I remember right, that's how they label the different universes within. Yes. Rick and Morty. So I don't know if like these have popped up before. So they could just be insinuating that this is just another Rick and Morty universe that just is a live action universe. Like if there's a Cronenberg universe, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a live action universe.
Yeah, exactly. And they're leading into it, and it looks like it's a lot of fun. So we'll probably have more updates on that next week. DC's Fandome dropped an announcement this week, Mike. The upcoming Fandome will be October 16th, 2021, and they are finally streaming this everywhere. You don't have to use their platform. It'll be on YouTube and Twitch and anywhere that streams video. So there's a low barrier to entry. So that seems great. I think there's going to have all sorts of properties there, teases from probably, Shazam and Aquaman and was it Super Pets? But I think the biggest thing is they confirmed the Batman trailer will be revealed at Fandome again. So
nice.
Fandome last year was actually surprised me. I think it came out with a lot of fun stuff whenever they did it. Like, again, the first Batman trailer, I believe, but I'm excited to see this one now.
Yeah. There was a lot of HBO Max announcements, I believe, last year. That's when we got like the Zatanna like show and some of those other things kind of squared away. Will be roughly around the same time that I think. Isn't Disney going to be doing something around like the fall as well? Where they're doing
Disney Plus Day is November 12th.
Gotcha. So these are like roughly like 4 weeks apart. So it's going to be a busy couple weeks for us here on the podcast.
Yeah, and I remember that. I still remember the excitement of that Disney investor call last year, man. Like I'm still riding that high a year later. We haven't had really anything else to redeem that, but yeah, Fandome coming up. Very excited for that. We'll keep you guys posted on everything. And if anything reached out to you guys, let us know. I think you're right. I forgot about the HBO Max stuff. We could get Green Lantern casting, maybe a first look at that show, and some of the other stuff. I think it'd be really cool to get that. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is the upcoming movie. James Wan is currently filming this, and he gave us, I believe these are concept art, Mike. Correct me if I'm wrong. It looks like they took headshots from the movie and put them on a new body. So Jason Momoa is wearing his regular King of Atlantis suit, and now he's got a black suit, like black suited Superman, black suited Aquaman version here called the stealth suit.
Man, comic books just love making the suit black, right? It's like the most badass like 90s way to kind of transition your hero of just like take all the color out of his costume. It's all black. So it's just funny to see that kind of trickle down to Aquaman now. Yeah.
So my understanding is that this is in the comic books. He gets a stealth suit, kind of like Iron Man. Like every person gets a stealth suit, right, in the comic books. So this is based on Cephalopod's camouflaging ability. It still looks like his concept art, so I don't believe this is the final version. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's pretty close to this.
One thing I didn't realize that popped up in the articles when this was written today, because this news just dropped today with this black suit, this first look, was I guess James Wan was quoted just a few weeks ago saying that this classic horror film, Planet of Vampires, is a big inspiration for the sequel of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And if you're not familiar with Planet of Vampires, much like myself is not familiar with it, apparently it's a movie that has inspired films like Alien, or Prometheus, a lot of Ridley Scott stuff. So it sounds like this is going to be an Aquaman adventure where they go to a new unfamiliar land, or AKA a lost kingdom, and then there's going to be some sort of secret threat there that they're not expecting on their excursion.
Do you think this is like maybe he's merged that canceled the trench idea of horror and like zombies into like this lost kingdom mentality? Like
that could be a possibility, but also it is James Wan, the director, who comes from horror roots, and it seems like he really likes these horror roots. This isn't necessarily like a horror director that feels like they're upgrading to an action franchise and can leave the world of horror behind them. It seems like James Wan just wants to make these types of stories. So maybe regardless of whether the trench was happening or not, this was going to be kind of spooky. I don't think this is going to be scary at all. I mean, like we kind of got that promise with, remember the New Mutants? Nobody said, people respond and say nothing. But that was like the closest thing I think we've ever got to scary, and it was never scary. I think just the kind of the villain design of those weird kind of faceless creatures were kind of creepy, but yeah, I haven't seen anything scary when it's come to a superhero, and I don't think this is going to be it either, but I think maybe that's where the black suit kind of comes down on the line. Like, we're probably going to see this suit down in that world. Maybe this is a new suit that he puts on down there, or he's been Aquaman for a little while now, so maybe he has like his own little sewing team that just makes some new stuff.
Do you think he goes into like an underwater phone booth to change into it, like Superman? No, I'm kidding.
Well, you gotta. I mean, that's the only place you can change in this world.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it looks fine. I mean, again, not the final version, but changing outfits is not really new to comic books or characters. So if he has different outfits for different purposes, so be it. Even the fact that it's based on like a marine animal and their abilities is even, adds a little more validity to it. So I'm excited for Aquaman again. Jason Momoa, famously, what did he tell you? My man? Is that what he said to you?
Oh yeah, he pointed at me once. It was exciting. Yeah.
So honestly, we've got a lot invested in this movie because of Jason Momoa. The Suicide Squad got some cool effect looks here. I sent this to you earlier this week. For Polka Dot Man, they actually use practical effects for David Dastmalchian. So they essentially put all this makeup on him and put like color changing LEDs under them. So when his skin glows, it's like it was real like skin. And I'm like, this looks really cool. Like if anyone's looking for cosplay ideas, throw a couple of hue bulbs under some skin looking stuff, and you can go do cosplay.
Yeah, it's always cool because, I mean, this is something that you could have done unpractical, right? You just map his face on a computer, throw some kind of CG objects on there that kind of glow with the light, but the fact that they could do it practical is really, really cool. It makes for some cool behind-the-scenes shots. Yeah, you got to check out our show notes so you can kind of see these behind-the-scenes photos because it looks so weird.
Yeah. My favorite thing is the first reply under that is where someone has taken Weasel and photoshopped him into the Cat in the Hat scenes from that live-action Cat in the Hat movie. And I'm like, this is brilliant. The internet is a great place to be sometimes. And this is one of those moments. Also, James Gunn said if you notice that the vital sign indicators that the Nathan Fillion's TDK is still alive, and that he never died. So
I suppose they only pumped his arms full of bullets.
Yeah.
So
you think they put him back on him?
Or he's going to get like mechanical, like Mortal Kombat /
oh God.
like what was that character's name in Mortal Kombat?
Jax.
Jax. He's going to get Jax arms. I mean, maybe this is just like a subtle hint that we might be seeing him in the Peacemaker TV show coming up on HBO Max next year.
That's true. That's true. Did you know that James Wan was a producer for Mortal Kombat? Because this all ties back together. But yeah, anyway, I think that's cool. Nathan Fillion, again, big name, been in like almost every James Gunn thing. Didn't really get a lot of love here in this. Well, he's funny, but I think it's great that they could possibly use him again. So. Well, it's that time of the episode, Mike, where we're going to jump into What If, this week's What If, episode 4. And we're going to be discussing this. Full disclosure, full spoilers. We're not going to hold anything back. So if you've not watched it, pause it, go catch it out, come back. I feel this was a little bit of a longer episode, Mike. I feel like the time was over 30 minutes on this one. Do you remember?
Yeah, I wasn't checking, but this one was definitely intense, right? I feel like this episode is a little unique on a couple of fronts where we don't really have the kind of ambiguous ending necessarily. Like a lot of our other endings has shown us maybe what part 2 could be, and this one is kind of just sit there kind of creepily like lingering, right? So, and he's just left crying, and then it cuts to credits, which was pretty intense.
Yeah.
The episode feels very dark overall, where I felt like there's been hope kind of at least shines of it in some of these other parts of it.
Man, it's like this is like the wind out of my sails for the day. Like, again, if you're in a good mood, this is gonna like knock you down a notch or two. Like, don't watch this in a bad mood. You won't come out feeling better.
Yeah, but one thing I feel like I am struggling trying to figure out 2 parts of it. So it's been a bit since I've seen it, since I watched it on Wednesday. So the inciting incident is supposed to be that the car crash now has Rachel McAdams in the car.
Well, so but the inciting incident is that he takes Christine with him to she accepts to go to the dinner instead.
Oh, because I couldn't quite remember exactly. I was just like, I know no one was in the car with him the first time around. So I was like, well, why is she in the car now? So I guess you really kind of have to know what happens just before the inciting incident now, so you can quite understand it.
It's like last week we talked about. They didn't really tell us what it was. Right? Like kind of right off. This one you had to infer a little bit because this one focuses more on the consequences rather than the actual event itself. Exactly. Because there's a lot of consequences going on here.
And then it gets a little confusing because the Ancient One ends up fracturing the timeline into 2 pieces. And I'm not necessarily saying I can't understand that or comprehend it, but it gets really confusing, especially since like now we have to deal with this narrative of a multiverse fracturing. So it's just like we're already watching a story that is a splinter of a reality, and within that reality it's being splintered in half by the Ancient One, but it's being split in half not by pure chance but like by magic. So it gets a little confusing, but then also the stakes of the episode are he is destroying the entire universe because of like this thirst for power and this paradox that's building. So, but then my head has to rationalize, okay, well, is he destroying the entire universe that he's within, or is he destroying like everything? Like I never would have thought that like when I'm watching like something in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that the stakes could get bigger than the universe. It's like, oh, well, is he destroying just his own universe? Because now there's multiple universes. So like how bad of a scenario is this really?
For the way I took it, and again, this is just me to rationalize how this works, is that when the Ancient One split it, she split them, but they're still intertwined because they're half of the same strange, right? It's like she didn't create 2 completely separate universes where they're whole stranges. She split stranges in half. So it's like, imagine it's one universe, but kind of split down the middle. It's still one width, but like it's half and half the way, because there's 2 stranges at half power, if you will. And then one.
But the other one's getting juiced on creatures.
The other one is entirely going down some body horror, like frickin' he's eating other what I assume to be other Sorcerer Supremes from other dimensions. Because he even gets his cape from like a little bug, little guy that he throws back. He's like, I don't want to eat you, but I'll take your cape. But like that was weird to see him kind of absorb all those and like take on the personality or the physical traits of those creatures as he did. And I was like, this is really fun in animation. Like this looks really cool in this regard of how he's doing this.
And then ultimately, this is probably the greatest strength of a what if episode is you don't have to follow kind of the conventional narrative of just like he defeats the good guy. He tackles and overcomes Doctor Strange and absorbs him to become like this like all-powerful
super
being.
mega ultra strange.
Yeah, and then it rises to the scenario of Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah.
Kind of breaks this wall that he has with what he's observing, and he actually talks to Strange, which I thought was very kind of almost eerie, because he's just been like this omnipotent being watching, and then now all of a sudden he's like talking to him. I was like, oh, this is actually really powerful.
Yeah.
Like I thought we might not get a scenario like this until maybe like the season finale.
Yeah, so I think it's gonna slowly kind of see him do more, because he does say no, but like the interesting part with this one is this entire universe that Strange has destroyed at the end. Like he did everything to keep Christine alive, and then ended up, once he brought her back, destroyed everything else, including her again. And then he created, like, was it like a crystal, like, little orb around him of, like, he's the only thing left there.
Yeah, it's like Chekhov's magical egg. I just feel like this like crystal egg is going to hatch at some point in time, and we're going to see this like villainous, like deranged Strange. And like this is the first time I got the feeling that like, oh, maybe this character is the one that branches off into live action, right? Because we've been told that we could possibly see that crossover. You know, there's rumors that, you know, Captain Carter might be popping up in a multiversal scenario, but like imagine like this super like body horror graphic like Benedict Cumberbatch showing up on live action. I think that could be really cool. Or he could just be like a big bad villain that maybe some of our multiversal Avengers has to fight at some point in time. That could be fun as well.
Exactly. Well, I think that's the key point is he asked the Watcher for the help. The Watcher said no. So I think he's going to try to get revenge on the Watcher later on because he's going to sit there and probably get madder and like, you know, more furious at this whole situation.
Yeah. Now, you could correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like I haven't really read many comic book runs that involve the Watcher to really any length. And I can't remember which one it was, but I swear I've read one where the Watcher does technically involve himself in the story. Like, he actually changes the course of whatever I was reading, and I just can't quite remember what it was.
The Watcher watches except when he appears, and then you know he's going to change something. Like he's one of those guys who's like, I do as I say, not as I do, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he's been in trouble. He was killed in a book called something Original Sin, and actually the Nick Fury of that universe ends up being the Watcher for that universe, being able to watch something. But like there are other ones, other Watchers of. There's not just one Watcher. There's a race of them, as we've kind of seen. But yeah, he will definitely ultimately involve himself because that is the nature. Like again, like I said, that's Chekhov's Watcher. Like he says he can't interact, but what's he gonna do? He's gonna interact. He's gonna do.
But
something.
also, he's kind of also like this all-knowing being as well too. So like, his level of interaction could be something as small as like knocking over a domino, and then that, you know, totally changes the course of like, you know, humanity. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he decides to dip his toe in the pool at some point in time during What If. But this is a really intense episode. I've been really annoyed by this meme going around that says like, oh, episode 4 of Marvel Disney shows, man, those are it. That's the one that you got to look out for. And I just kind of want to be like, your people are running off of way too small of a sample size. There's only been a couple of Disney Plus shows already, and they all have different varying episode lengths, right? So the 4th episode is not always going to be like an episode that's really going to hit hard, right? And then they're throwing and then of course I'm totally biased because I didn't like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so I don't care that the 4th episode is the one where he killed that dude with Captain America's shield. I just didn't like the show in general.
Was that the 4th one?
Yeah, apparently that was the 4th.
I couldn't tell you like what 4th episode was in what in any of these goddamn shows.
Yeah, because they're kind of meant to just be like a longer narrative where they just kind of break up the acts by episode. So I don't know. Sometimes just the fandom just annoys me. So that's just one thing that's annoying me.
Well, I mean, do you think you saw Mephisto in this episode?
Oh, that's the question, right? I mean, geez, Mephisto.
Yeah. Which Sam Raimi Spider-Man villain was in this, and who was Mephisto? Probably the same. No, I'm kidding.
I swear I saw Charlie Cox in one of those multiple time jumps.
Yeah, he was one of the. He was the guy driving the other car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go.
He's blind.
He's blind. He can't drive. I mean.
But no, I think like I said, I think this was one where I was like, oh, this is like a gut punch kind of thing because Yeah, it's like where Doctor Strange essentially, what if he was selfish and did stuff for his own, results rather than helping the world? And it's a fair assessment. It was a fair.
I mean, I know the cast wasn't necessarily large on this one, but I think we got all of the voice acting returning for this one. So this really kind of felt like very authentic. I don't think I got that feeling in this one where the characters didn't sound like themselves, even though the actor was the same. It sounded like Stephen Strange pretty much the entire way through for me.
I will say, all the actors look great, except the one they got for Christine, Rachel McAdams. That just looked like a generic woman. Like there was no defining feature to make that look like Rachel McAdams. Yeah,
and I mean that is kind of the unfortunate thing too, because when you're doing like a caricature of like of a celebrity or something that people already recognize, you do kind of have to latch on to like a defining feature, right? And like Benedict Cumberbatch has like these defining features in his eyes and his like face shape and everything, and especially like his like goatee and everything. So it's really easy to key in on him. But I guess fortunately / unfortunately, Rachel McAdams has the benefit of just being a good looking woman that just has very kind of standard features. So yeah, you do kind of have to rely on the voice to really kind of connect you to Rachel's face.
And I would say the voice to me, I mean, her voice didn't stand out. Like I'm like, oh god, that's Rachel. That's Rachel McAdams from Mean Girls. You know, I like didn't really like pull me in either. Like I would say of all of them, that's the one that probably bothers me the most. But like, it didn't ruin the episode. The episode was the story and everything was still so good. It drew me in. Like these episodes they're not getting better, but like I'm so happy. Like that first one was like a bad sample of like, hey, we just gender swapped one character. Enjoy your series. And I'm like, thank God they're actually doing something fun. And this one was
we do get to see that tentacled creature return. I mean, as far as I can tell, I feel like it's the same 3D model. And this time around, Doctor Strange. Maybe this is going to show you that the threat level that he's obtaining, right? He's powerful enough to just easily destroy this kind of Leviathan that's coming out of the portal.
Well, I don't even think he did that. He just got smarter and cut his arms off. So I think it's got more arms. It'll probably be fine. But yeah, it was interesting to see that. And you know that's our second one. Other than the Watcher, like those tentacles are like our through line. So, yeah, I'm excited to see this and see what more. I really enjoyed again this one before we wrap it up. Is he did the Dormammu thing where he was able to use his time stone to redo that night over and over again, and it kind of had like what was a Final Destination approach to it. Like you can't cheat death; it will find you no matter what you do. And he was doing everything he could, and even like it was getting pretty creative there for a bit. So
yeah, and we did actually, I would say, get a new bit of lore for the MCU. Of there are these points in time. I don't remember what the Ancient One called them. She had like a phrase for it, like this is like a fixed point, or this is like a unchangeable point. So I mean, this could retroactively fix maybe some really big nitpicks that people have of just like, well, why didn't he use the time stone and just go back and fix this and stuff? Well, you know, it's a fixed point in time that can't change. You know, that's just the story that we're going with.
And then also, if you look at Loki, he could have done that and they could have wiped it clean.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what? I do feel like, especially with this kind of just adding to, maybe confusion is a bit of a stretch to say, but with all of these different timeline splits, these different multiverses, all of this stuff that like Marvel's building up to, I do feel like we're approaching at some point in time in the next couple of years like a big kind of comic book event thing where they do in publication all the time where like this universe has gotten way too confusing. We have lost track of all of our books. We have had all of these new authors and writers bring in new different versions of the characters. Let's condense it. Let's streamline this stuff down again because our readers are confused. I wouldn't be surprised if the MCU gets to like that at some point in time. You know, okay, well, we pulled in some of these like obscure characters from these different franchises. You know, we got them into our universe, and now that they're here and we like the cast of characters that we have now, let's just collapse this multiverse and go back down to a normal freaking timeline that people can understand. And so I would expect that maybe at some point in time that's going to be our maybe like big phase 5 event, or maybe even like phase 6 event or something like that. Because I don't think they can keep this going perpetually, you know, for a while. It just gets a little messy, but I'm having fun with it right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a lot they can do with this, and you know, my wife was talking about it, and she's like, you know, she's like, I don't understand the multiverse as well as you do, obviously. I'm like, that's fine, and she's like, I'm really glad that these episodes are like helping people dip their toes in the idea of multiverses and different timelines. So I think, you know, for us who's in it every day, you know, we can find things that don't really make sense, but for the common people out there, they're really enjoying it and finding value in these, and I think that's still good. Like, they can watch these without having to watch everything else and feel comfortable whenever we eventually get to that multiverse of madness and how they wrap all this magical stuff up and figure out what the next phase is. So I'm down with that. Anything else, Mike? That it? What if?
No, I think that's it for this week of Superhero Slate.
Well, what if we ended the episode, and what if can people find you at?
Well, if people want to what if find me, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And they can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, Valdan, or Instagram, Valdan87. People know about the show, more about this stuff, go listen to our Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings review. Where can they find that at?
Oh, it's so easy. All you got to do is visit our HQ, and that's superheroslate.com. That is the best place to find all the avenues we host our show and to get our awesome show notes. So if you want to check out the behind the scenes of the Suicide Squad, if you want to see that practical effect for Polka Dot Man, if you want to see those live action Rick and Morty little promos, we got all of those links in our show notes, and you can find us at Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you, and we love it when you reach out and you let us know what you're watching, what you're feeling, what you're excited about. So reach out to us at Superhero Slate, and we love to hear from you. And if you're a super fan of the show and you want to continue to be a super fan, or if you just want to be upgraded to super fan class, all you have to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and of course, get vaccinated. And we will be here every week, folks.
That's right. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah, now we're just killing time until Battlefield comes out.